Mr. Lance, welcome to Ruction Nation. Thank you for joining us, taking time out of your busy day.
Of course.
I kind of explained the purpose of the podcast to you. You want me to take that thing off?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
It's my sunscreen.
All right. Cool. So why don't we just jump into it? Can you give us some background on your career, basically where you started, where you are now, what you're doing?
Yeah. So I've been doing construction essentially my whole life. Started when I was about 10 with my dad, who owned a concrete company. We did all the small slabs for community mailboxes. So we were contracted by the U.S. Post Office, and we did all the new neighborhoods in Highlands Ranch, a lot of stuff in Littleton, Parker, pretty much all the surrounding areas. And it got to a point with big builders like D.R. Horton and stuff came into play. The post office didn't want to pay what they were paying anymore. So D.R. Horton said they would do individual mailboxes, and it'll make it easier. You guys don't have to pay anybody. We'll put them all in. Well, the post office figured out that's a whole lot of extra work to stop at every single house.
Mm-hmm.
So they made a deal with D.R. Horton and the big builders to hire on their own crew and start doing it themselves. So we got out of that. And I went through a plethora of jobs, painting houses, doing tile, brick, and kind of had a rough up and down through there. Was doing retail work, got a second DUI, and lost that job. And I was working at Home Depot, and Kirk called me and says, "Hey, dude, you want to come run equipment?" I was like, "Yeah, dude, anything to get out of doing this. I'm so tired of doing this."
Did you know him previously then?
Yeah, I actually grew up with Kirky. He knew that I could run equipment because growing up racing dirt bikes, all we did was help people build tracks and do all kinds of stuff like that. So like I said, I've been operating and playing in the dirt my whole life.
Yep.
So it just came natural to me. But I started as a skid hand / laborer with him 11 years ago. Worked in a skid for 3.5, 4 years. He got me into a loader, and I bounced around between a loader and skid kind of based off what we needed. And I've been in a loader ever since. And then about 4 years ago, I stepped up to operating foreman, which, I was per se doing that for a longer period of time, but that's when they recognized it. And then that's kind of where I'm at now. Hopefully here soon, I'll be stepping up into that site super position. Word on the street, beginning of next year. Once I wrap up this job with Turner, start taking on some jobs. So I'm excited. We'll see how that all plays out.
It's very exciting.
There's a whole lot more that you don't see as an operating foreman taking over a job like I did over there. Just a lot of the stuff to deal with the contracts, a lot of paperwork stuff that you don't see per se out in the field. I knew the basic of everything that was going on, but there's a lot of logistics behind that people don't ever think about.
Are you talking like verbiage in the contracts?
Verbiage, areas that are missed by contractors, GCs, or a scope gap, things like that you don't recognize, you don't think about on the job. But as you start moving forward and start having to deal with all this stuff, you realize
they're a pain in the ass.
Oh, it's a giant pain.
Scope gaps suck.
And there's a lot of times we've worked with some contractors are really good about it. There's other ones that are more weaselly that'll try and hope that you're ignorant to what's going on and get you to do the work. Because once the work's done, it's really hard to say, hey, this is what I'm going to bill you for it, because it's already done. To get the payment after that, it's...
Coming from a GC standpoint, and, I'd like to hear your point of view as a subcontractor, but I've always found that, like, horse trading and, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine type of deal seems to pan out the best.
I agree 100%. That's something that I think happened a lot more back in the day on job sites, and things went a lot smoother. But now with all the back charges and everyone, if you don't cover your ass and there's not a paper trail of the conversation, it's really hard to prove anything, and then it's a bunch of big companies against each other and people aren't getting paid, and that's kind of how I see it. But I agree 100%. Back then it was, we, you take care of us, we'll take care of you. We worked with a contractor for multiple years
more of a partnership.
yeah, and they would keep us busy all winter long. Like, we wouldn't charge them for a lot of things that we would do extra, but all winter long, they would pay us to come in and get 8-hour days so that we could stay working. We'd do snow removal, just minor stuff, but they would pay us to do that. So that was like our T&M. But then the little things we'd do, hauling off the washout, things like that, we wouldn't ding them on every single time. And it was kind of an even trade. It probably wasn't an even trade, but it worked out best for the company and for us.
Yeah, kind of a win-win situation.
100%. And I wish a lot more of the jobs were like that now. But there's also, like, a lot of these jobs you go to, you've got your actual GC, and then you've got like 6 assistants that each cover a different area, which I get. When you're doing big buildings, sometimes it's nice to have an interior guy, an exterior guy, so that one dude's not trying to cover everything. Because I got to go to 6 different jobs in a week, and it's a pain. But to cover 6 different trades in one day is way worse to me, dude. And I'm just moving dirt at all the jobs.
Yeah. So, yeah, just to clarify, the company you currently work for, you guys are strictly earthwork.
Yes.
You move dirt, dig holes, backfill, grading.
We do. That's our majority of work. We do end up jumping on some like under drains, perimeter drains, stuff like that we're not pipe layers, but it's not super difficult. It's a relatively basic thing that we run, but it helps us get a lot of our bids because we'll take this little extra piece and this little extra piece, and the other companies don't want to take it. So it gets us the bid. And that's more and more of the stuff I'm learning too, the stuff that I'm like, why are we doing this? Well, that's how we got the job. I'm like, well, think about that next time. Because sometimes it's a pain in the ass to do some of this stuff with guys that don't know what they're doing. And then we've got to be in there and everything. Some of them are a lot more precise than others. We've got to scope the one we're currently doing. And anything that's not right, we got to go back in and fix. But they've already poured concrete over half of it. So now we're in charge of having to demo that and do all this if something's wrong. And they want to wait till the end to scope it. And that's one of those things where I'm like, we should scope the whole inside of that before the garage was poured. But that's kind of how they want to do it because they don't want to pay double to have it scoped twice. It's all business, the bureaucracy of everything. And I think that's kind of, it's made construction work a lot different than what it used to be. I'm glad that it's different, but at the same time, there's ups and downs about the changes.
So, has there been a big change in the industry since you've been working with your current company for the last 11 years? Like the last decade, or do you think it's been longer than that?
I would say, for the last 11 years for me, when I first started, everything was still on paper. All the prints were on paper. We've just in the last couple years started using Procore, and with you guys is the first time I've ever used this Autodesk, which I'm finding out most of these other companies that use Procore use Autodesk as well to help move prints around, blow stuff up, put them into Bluebeam, certain things like that.
Yeah, it's getting more and more common with even subcontractors doing their submittals, and
right,
like we're using Autodesk for our stuff, and they're using Procore for theirs, and we got to kind of make them talk.
Well,
shout out to Procore and Autodesk.
Yeah, for sure. I personally like Procore. A lot of the guys don't like it, but to be able to look at any of the prints you want,
there's a learning curve, especially with field guys that, aren't on computers every day. I mean,
100%. But to be able to have all the prints in your fingers
it's pretty
and
amazing.
to be able to just click on that notation and it takes you straight to the detail instead of having to flip through this giant book of papers, like that's a no-brainer to me. Plus, I don't want to fill the back of my truck with rolls of blueprints,
Right.
Like I go from job to job, like I said. So I'd have 6 or 7 different sets of prints in the back there of all civils, but that's all we get. When we do get prints, it's just the civils because that covers most of my stuff. But I like having all the plumbing stuff because I can see where stuff's ran. It helps inform me on what I'm going to find in the ground when I start digging.
Right.
So that's huge for me. Like I said, some of the other guys don't think that way, but I like to be prepared when I'm doing stuff. So
So do you think that was a pretty significant just game changer, these online construction management software
I
programs?
I think it's huge, and especially with the amount of how RFIs and all this has changed now. So there's not that much I take care of you, you take care of me kind of stuff on the job sites anymore. This streamlines all that. Like with the old paper ones, if you had an outdated set, you had to go get a whole new set of prints. I don't have to do that. I just hit download now and it's all there. I mean, you can't really beat that in my opinion. It
Yeah.
streamlined everything.
That's a lot more productive.
For sure. For sure. And being able to do all the forms and stuff that are required on site on there. Because we used to give all the GC shit. Well, you just like killing trees, don't you, dude? Just constantly filling out papers all the time.
Mhm.
I don't have to do that anymore. I do it on my phone. I submit it. It goes straight to you guys. Everyone's happy. You guys can print it out or it sends wherever it needs to. And I mean, it makes things easier, in my opinion.
Yeah, a lot less paper to handle and file and
For sure.
organize.
For sure.
What's been the biggest game changer technology wise or equipment, tools, anything like that for an earth worker? Has there been many changes over the last 10, 15 years?
Besides some of the GPS changes and updates, some of that is huge for us. But the GPS is only as good as the information it's given. So if there's a survey point that's missed or if there's something missing in that, it causes havoc. It's kind of made some of the operators a little bit lazier. I think it's made the laborers a little bit lazier because now they don't know how to operate a laser. It's got its plus and bonuses. You can be a lot more precise with a GPS blade or a dozer. You can set a dude with a GPS dozer up, set him up, dude, and he can go track and doze everything in and make everything perfect. But
If anything's
anything's
out of
off,
whack.
you're gonna have an issue, and it happens. I mean, it's just one small thing, It's like a bust on grade.
Is
and
that easy to identify in the field as an operator if there is a point that's off? Or I'm sure.
for I would say for a good seasoned operator, someone that grew up without running GPS, 100%. But if the dude is always just running auto and just hitting auto, he has no idea because it's doing what it's supposed to essentially in his eyes. Most of our GPS operators have been around for a while, so they can identify when we're on grade and then all of a sudden there's a 6-inch jump in grade and then it goes back down and that doesn't show anywhere. They're like, what is this? They can call it out. But a lot of them have been taught not to question the GPS. So they're like, well, the GPS said to do it. So it kind of, like I said, it made it made people lazy. Some of this stuff has kind of been worse. It
It's
helps, but
it's
it's
just
worse.
taking out a huge chunk of the learning, right?
100%, and being able to control that machine and operate it like you need to. I being able to read a grade stake and get out and set stakes and do all that, it was a huge part of me learning how to operate, seeing different areas where like that doesn't look right. I can see that from here with my eyes. But it's because I had to get out and read the stakes and set all my ribbons and do all this, check my grade with a level. that I think is a huge part that everyone should go through with or without GPS, just because that's like the footwork. That's like learning how to crawl before you walk.
Right.
You got to understand that. So I would say that that's probably the biggest thing. Equipment's had its ups and downs. They put all that DEF in there, and the machines wouldn't run. We had problems left and right with all this emissions, and they're learning that it's kind of going away with that. So my machine currently has DEF, but it doesn't do the regen and all that crazy stuff. And so technology always is going to help and hurt at the same time, in my opinion. Because like I said, it takes away from a lot of core knowledge. Like, everyone has a cell phone. You don't have to remember anyone's phone number now.
Mm-hmm. Growing
up, you either had a little piece of paper in your wallet or you remembered everyone's phone number. Right. Granted, it was all house phones, but
Yep.
it's just so. But it's one of those things where everyone wants to just be an operator right off the bat. They come from another company and they're like, well, I ran a skid for 2 days over there, so I'm a skid hand. You get them in a skid and you're like, dude.
So can you explain kind of the process for any younger people or anyone that's interested in becoming an operator or working, someone that wants to work for an earthwork company in some capacity? Like, what
is the path to progression, in your opinion?
You start as a laborer, holding a shovel, check and grade. I tell all the guys this all the time when we're trying to hire. They just want to hire people that can run equipment. I said, yeah, but you need to get these kids because we need laborers too. We don't just need operators. We need guys that can check grade, that know how to boot up stakes, that can set a laser when you got 3 foot of cut, so they can go down there and check the grade and make sure everything's right, like digging footers.
For those that don't know, how do you boot up a stake?
So depending on what the stake is, how we do our boot up stakes, most of it is for top back curb. When you're grading for curb and gutter, it'll give you a cutter fill to top back a curb. So that means if there's a cut of 3400ths to top back a curb, you go down 3400ths, that's top back a curb, and then you go down another foot, and that would be our subgrade. So we would go up 6600ths and make a line and put a ribbon for 2 feet so that when they walk over there with their level at that red ribbon and measure down, it's 2 foot. And we like to do 1 foot is white, 2 foot's red, 3 foot's red and white, and so on and so forth. We don't really go much over that because if you are grading curb and gutter with more than 3 foot of cut, you've got an issue already. But that's a whole nother story to get into.
Is that a personal story?
No, that's just happens all the time. Okay. Sequencing on a job is important as well. So, like you start rushing curb and gutter before other things are graded down, then they're setting stakes up here. These guys, it just makes the concrete job harder. Then we got to get in and go over this curb and gutter and take out that extra 2 foot of dirt. And you always end up scuffing or hurting the curb and gutter, and then they're tearing it out. Then you
shouldn't ever have to slope back from your sidewalk grading, is what you're saying.
No, and you're going to eventually grade most of your sidewalk and stuff, but a lot of the times we try to get in there and pre-grade everything close, just within a couple inches. So we might have a skid back behind there working,
right? But
we don't need loaders and backhoes back there hogging dirt because you're just asking for problems.
Have you ever seen that?
What?
To that extent?
Oh, multiple times.
Is there one story that trumps all the?
Yeah, we actually, and this was one of our operators was instructed to get in and move all this dirt. They staked the sidewalk. We had most of it graded. We could see how fat we were between the back of this curb and the sidewalk. And he was instructed to get in there and hog all that out before they got the sidewalk in there so that it was easy. We could drive around. Everything was accessible. Well, he decided to go wander off and do something else and not do that. And the concrete guys weren't waiting. They poured that sidewalk. And then we had to get back in there and the supervisor at the time made him sit there with his back bucket and dig it all out into my loader bucket. And he was pissed about it, but it was like, dude, you were told to do this with your front bucket before any of this was in. Now you get to sit on that slope and clean up the rest of this, because if you would have done it yesterday, this wouldn't have been a problem. And it happens quite a bit, actually, because that's another thing where a GC came over and said, hey, I got this for you. And we've got good guys that try to help everyone out. You know, it's not like he was just saying, F you, super. It was the guy asked him to come do something. He didn't get to that. Like I said, the concrete guys don't wait. When they're pouring concrete, that concrete's going on the ground, whether you like it or not. So you better be ready. And it pissed him off, but he hasn't done it since that I know of.
Yeah, a little lesson.
Yeah, definitely. But it's one of those things. It would have taken him 10 minutes to do it with his front bucket, and he sat there for half a day scooping it with his back bucket on the side of a hill. And yeah, live and learn. So
you mentioned that a recent challenge for yourself has been like contract, verbiage, scope gaps,
yep,
what you owe per the contract,
right,
and understanding all of that. What do you think the biggest challenge is in this day and age for like a loader operator or someone that's operating on site, not necessarily the foreman?
Really, any operator's biggest challenge is understanding what they have to get done. Because there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. You can do it multiple different ways. But what is going to be the most productive, like working from north to south in a slab prep to work your way out of it instead of having to go back and forth over it where you're going to constantly end up cleaning up your tracks, stuff like that. Just a general knowledge of what you've got to do, what is going to be the most efficient way. And that's me personally. I'm all about efficiency and productivity, because if we're not efficient or productive, I'm not making my company any money. They're getting shafted by me being, just not
Inefficient.
not getting stuff done. So it's really just understanding the task you have to complete at the time, and trying to stick to the task you're completing until it's finished, not bouncing around to where you got this half done, that half done.
So for any operators out there that are kind of just getting started, or any people that are potentially looking at becoming an operator in the future, what would your number one advice be for overcoming that challenge?
I had to push a bunch because I'd get a list or these are the things we got to do. So my biggest thing was, okay, I got all this to do. What needs to be done first? What's my priority? What are they going to pour concrete on tomorrow, or what is this? What if I do this first? Is it going to affect my second task? Am I going to be driving through this graded slab? Kind of, like I said, get a list of what you need to be doing and kind of look at it and just go, okay, I got to do this. This is here. This is there. And it's not something you're going to figure out right away. It takes time.
You learn by mistakes.
100%. And once you get tired of cleaning up your tracks that you've already graded something because you're driving through it, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to move all this dirt, and then I'll start grading everything from that back corner and work my way out. Or, where to put your dirt when you are moving it. Always imagine you're going to move dirt. Think of it, your pile's going to be double, triple the size of what you think it is. So that when you start piling your dirt, you put it where you need it, because it's going to grow outwards or up, one of the two, but you can't get behind it very often to put dirt back there. So if you block a giant empty area with a pile, you're going to have to move it all again.
Yeah, it's just wasted space at that point.
Yep. So it's learn from your mistakes. When something happens, for one, don't hide it. Tell somebody. Make sure they know, because you got to let everyone know. If you find a pipe, tell someone right away.
Do you have a story behind learning that lesson?
No, I've always been upfront.
Yeah.
Because I'm not there. You don't gain nothing by hiding it. They're gonna know who did it 90% of the time.
Have you ever witnessed someone else hiding something and it kind of
100%. And
turns around to bite them in the ass?
it's definitely happened on a couple jobs. A lot of the 90% of the time, dirt guys get blamed for hitting and breaking most stuff because we're the only ones with heavy equipment most of the time. There are scenarios right now, like at my job and at your job, where there's two crews, dirt crews on there, and one's a utility crew and the other's a dirt crew. So there is heavy equipment on both sides. But when they're working in one area and you're working in another and the damage is happening down here, it's pretty big red flags.
Yep.
I worked in a parking garage off Colorado. It was like First in Colorado area. And I was in a 938 down in this tiny little parking garage, and we were doing slab prep. They left the dirt too high when we did everything originally, so I had to go in there, and we were cutting this out. And I got in a hurry, and I went to turn around and accelerate, and my front tooth on my bucket caught one of the columns, and it popped that whole corner off the column into the rebar. And I immediately called the GC, called Rich, our, PM, and was like, hey, dude, I did this. Just so you know, this is what happened. They came out, everyone looked at it. They were like, there's no structural damage to it. It chipped the corner off. They were like, there's nothing wrong with it. They were like, thank you for this. There was no back charge. They patched it up. It was just, thank you for letting us know and not ignoring it, because there's a lot of times, like I said, you guys got a lot more to focus on than just us. And when you've got crews all over site, you're not hyper focused on these columns. But then 3 months down the road, when you're trying to set something or you're in there, what the fuck happened to this? And no one wants that, because then it's a giant problem. There's probably concrete on the slab now. What if there is something wrong with the integrity of that? Now there's a giant problem, But if you neutralize it right off the bat, you can fix it, and it causes a whole lot less headaches, in my opinion.
From a GC standpoint, if someone admits a mistake, I will never hold that above their head. If I come across something though that someone hid, that's when we have a problem.
Well, it's scary.
Mistakes happen.
Yes,
we see mistakes every day from every trade. It's just kind of the name of the game,
for sure.
So yeah, that's a huge sign of a person's integrity if they're willing to own up and admit a mistake.
We like to say fish a lot on the job site. Fuck it, shit happens. Like it's what it is. You're not gonna stop mistakes from happening. Your biggest thing is learn from that mistake.
Yep.
I now am vigilant on everything when I'm backing up, moving. Like, it's one of those things that you have to be, and especially as an operator. You can't be lazy when you're driving around. You can't be looking at your phone. You have to be paying attention.
Well, outside of hitting the building, there's people.
100%. And you're in a 60,000-pound machine. A skid is one of the worst because it's like a giant blind box. You can't see a whole lot in a skid.
And what does a skid weigh on average?
They're like 8
15?
to 12, depending on the size of the skid. But even then, it'll hurt you. It's going to crush you. If you're between two things, or if they run over your foot, your foot is going to get mashed. Like, there's no forgiveness. It's a solid rubber tire and 8,000 pounds.
Right.
So it's
no suspension.
No suspension. No give at all. Your foot is going to be a pancake.
Yeah. Caught in betweens are right up there with slips, trips, and falls.
Yeah.
So.
And we've actually had, incidences where one of the dudes wasn't paying attention, and we had an oiler out for a number of months because he pinched him between the truck and his bucket. When he was greasing his bucket, he looked down on his phone, was going like this, and it was a double fault because the oiler should not have stepped in between the truck and the bucket, but the operator should have been paying attention. So it's one of those things that being on a job site, you can't be just zoning out, walking
I
around.
mean,
through there.
I can't tell you how many times I've caught myself, walking across site and, not paying attention. And then all of a sudden I'm behind a excavator that's, swinging.
Moving, yep.
And yeah, it's been numerous times. But you just have to remember, for anyone that's walking around and on site around heavy equipment, like, take the time, make eye contact.
100%.
The operator will flag you by every single time. Yep. And you usually don't have to wait more than 10 seconds.
Yeah, it's quick and easy. And not just the eye contact. Wait, like you said, for that hand signal. Because you might think that you made eye contact through a mirror or something, but unless they recognize you, you never know. Because like I said, there are times where everyone's pushing to get something done. There's a time crunch. And that's when accidents happen all the time on job sites, is when people are under crunch. And I get it. We got to get our shit done. But you got to do it safe and you got to pay attention. That's one thing I've learned is there's not really a reason to get in a hurry because it's going to get done. And I get there's a time frame, but the more you hurry, the more stuff that can go wrong. And then things go backwards from there. You're very rarely moving. It's like speeding down the road. You're really not gaining that much advantage at all. And your odds of getting a ticket are a lot higher at that point. And then you're behind to where you need to be. So you just take your time, look at what you're doing, finish, say wipe your ass as you go, and just move out of the area.
I mean, a motto that we've been using for the last few years at our company is, slow is fast.
And that's how I was taught in a skid, because I used to try and be all quick, and everything was all rough. Once you start getting slow, you get on grade, you are actually going faster. You don't realize it, and then as you get comfortable, your speed picks up, but you got to go slow to go fast. It's like learning to crawl before you walk.
It doesn't matter how fast you're going. If you have to do something 2, 3, 4 times,
yep.
You're going to be slower
100%.
than if you would have done it slow one time.
100%. And like I said, once you start getting comfortable with slow and learning how to operate, you get smoother, and smooth is fast too. Slow is fast, but smooth is fast. So you literally will and it grows. And the next thing you know, you're operating efficiently. And to everyone else, it looks like they're just flying around. But they're actually in their head going in like slow motion, just doing what they need to each step. But they only have to do it once, like you said.
I've always, watched equipment operators. And I feel like everyone in construction is a little envious of people operating heavy equipment. Everyone wants to drive the loader, run the excavator. The one thing that kind of brings me back to earth is it's very repetitive at times.
Very much so.
When you're
I
digging,
wish people could see your face when you responded to that.
When you're digging a hole and throwing that in trucks as they're driving by. It's the same movement over and over. Do you make those motions in your sleep?
No, but when you get out, so the loaders, the drive is up here where you're steering, like your turn signals are, and most loaders, that's how you go forward or reverse. And now they're starting to put them down here by your handles. For the first longest time, I would get in my truck to go and I would hit my turn signals to drive.
To put it in gear.
Oh man. So it's wild because there is that you get in that repetitive motion of doing things.
Do you kind of get in like a certain headspace or zone when you're kind of doing the same thing for 8 hours a day?
For sure.
With certain activities.
Loading trucks is one of the most redundant things that you will do, just over and over and over. You're doing the same thing just constantly.
I mean, I have to admit, standing outside the equipment watching, it's pretty satisfying because you're you can see progress.
Oh, 100%. And I, as an operator, love doing that. I love watching my piles shrink and stuff like that. But while you're doing it, and when you do it for 10 hours a day, especially in an excavator, the motion of going like this nonstop, your head back and forth. And an excavator is a little better because you literally just got to look in your mirrors for most of the time. And when you're out in an excavator loading trucks, there's typically no one around you. So you're most likely in an empty fill on a stockpile, or you've got a trench cut for trucks to go down into. So but you're in a washing machine, dude. You're just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I don't like that. It makes me queasy a little bit, like motion sickness.
But
Loader, you're doing more to it because you're also cleaning up as you in
backing
between
up,
trucks,
picking up, turning around, loading truck. Yeah,
so there's a little bit more to it. But yeah, the guys loading trucks and excavators all day, whew, more power to them, man.
But
it's too much for me.
The operators for excavators get to do some pretty cool like climbs on site.
Very much.
And descents are always kind of cool.
Yeah.
It doesn't look possible when you're watching.
And then they do it.
Yeah, it blows my mind every time.
Yeah, Kirk, he's an amazing operator in an excavator. I mean, he can operate everything.
What is he best at?
Excavator, 100%.
What are you best at?
It's between a loader and a skid. I prefer the loader a lot better. A skid is just rough. There's no suspension. So if you're not constantly smoothing things out, you are bouncing around all the time. The newer skids are a lot better than the old skids because the joysticks and the handles, those old ones, if you started bouncing around with a bucket of dirt, you're on a buck and bowl. Because unless you just let go of the handles, you're all over the place. And that's something you see a lot of beginner operators make that mistake. If you don't know what you're doing, take your foot off the gas, press on the brake, and let go of the handles, and everything stops. But they are trying to stop and control it, and it just causes more chaos. And
in my experience, you see those. There's two things: it's that, or they hit the horn a lot.
Oh,
because they're trying to find
the buttons. Yes,
you don't have to talk about me like that. I've definitely hit the horn, panicking.
But it's
I'm not fast or smooth.
Well, but it takes
not Lightning McQueen.
It takes a lot of time, and like people think that they're just gonna jump in equipment, and it's like it looks, because a lot of operators make it look simple, like, oh, I can do that no problem.
Yeah.
And you might be able to get in there and grab a bucket of dirt and dump it into a truck, but to do it consistently and make sure you're smooth, you don't tip your loader over, you're not hitting the side of trucks, like it's a lot of attention that you have to put into everything you're doing, and
it truly is an art.
Oh, 100%.
You are shaping the earth
for sure.
It's pretty cool.
I've enjoyed it. Like I said, growing up racing dirt bikes, we made jumps. So like when I got into actual grading to what people wanted, it was foreign to me because I'm like, why do you want it flat? We could put a nice tabletop or a double over here. Yeah. Like I'm building berms. I'm like, yeah, I know how to build these. I know what's going on here.
What did you guys have when you were building?
Old skids, old Bobcats, foot pedal controls, and I despise those machines now. I get in them and I feel like a dinosaur, but I don't know what I'm doing because I've been so out of date with them. And
so where were you building these tracks?
All over. There used to be a lot more land for people to build tracks on. We've developed it all now and built multifamilies and all these tilt-up warehouses. Yeah. But like Jordan Road and Cottonwood Drive used to be fields from there to I-25. And that's where I grew up, learning how to ride dirt bikes, shoot guns. And we'd take equipment over there and just build random jumps. I mean, it was nothing special. We'd take a ravine and make a lip on it and then make a landing on the other side. And it was something that we grew up doing. And it was crazy because it would be a developer and be like, hey, can we borrow this? We'll fill it with diesel and we'll bring it back. We're literally just going right here. And they'd be like, sure, just fill it with diesel and don't break anything, Don't leave it at the bottom of a ravine, and I have
Mhm.
no problem with that. We'd take it on a Saturday and go over there, build some jumps. And for the longest time we were able to do it. The cops started chasing us out of there. People were getting hurt out there, not just because it was where people learned to ride, and then they'd get a little bit excited and go off a jump and not know what they were doing and get knocked out. And then their parents were mad at the landowner, and just all the good stuff ended. But it's understood, But it was a good.
Lame.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you still ride?
I haven't ridden in a couple years. I play around on pit bikes here and there. Got 2 daughters, man. They both
Yeah.
do competitive cheer, and a dirt bike cost about 12 grand now. So
Did
there's-
you ever race when you were in the
I
heart
was,
of it?
I was pro.
Were you?
I raced in 27 different states.
I had no
I
idea.
mean, oh yeah, I was number 1 in the state of Colorado for 10 years in a row.
Wow.
2 different classes.
For racing?
Yep. From 60s to 85s into big bikes, into the pro class. And first year I got pro was the first year I didn't get number 1s. And it's a whole different world stepping up to the big boys for sure. I was 17 years old, and I was racing with 35-year-olds that were they were rough. And it was, they let me know that I was the young kid in the class, but
It's kind of a
Just smashing you
Oh,
right out
yeah,
of the gate.
for sure.
Yeah.
I always had an advantage over everyone though, because I was a little guy. I always weighed like 135. I was 6 foot tall, 135, and I was riding a YZ250. I could start in 3rd gear, not even have to shift going down the starting line. And these guys are starting in 1st gear, having to shift, and I was already boom. But like I said, if they had the corner speed, they would catch up. They would just kai right into me and let me know they were there. And I learned a lot, but I miss it. But like I said, I go out there and wad myself up. I can't go to work on Monday, man. I still got to go to work on Monday.
Yeah.
That's the downfall.
Bills
now.
are still coming.
Yeah,
There's
the
that.
bills don't stop, and Aflac might help a little bit, but not that much. Sorry. So,
What's the coolest place that you got to race at?
Hurricane Mills, Tennessee, Loretta Lynn Dude Ranch. It is one of the top amateur nationals that anyone can race at. Top 40 in the country, all have to qualify to go there. When I first started going there, everyone's number was random. When you signed up, they sent you a bib with your number on it, and that was the number you got to keep it not so that you weren't hyped up by other people. Everyone just knew it was 40 of the fastest people racing. Now it's changed where you can request your number and do stuff like that, which, whatever, it's still 40 of the fastest people for each class. And it's 3 30-minute motos in Hurricane Mills in August. So we're talking 104 degrees, 90% humidity. There's a lot of training that goes involved with doing that. And I got into racing for fun. My dad got me into it. My brother did it. We all just had a blast. And getting to that next level really changed racing for me. If I ever got back into it, I'd do enduros, where it's just out racing in the field with a bunch of good old boys that want to go. At the end of the day, they're all going to go drink beer together. And,
a little less intense.
yeah, and I enjoy the racing. I love that aspect of battling, and it's you versus the world at that point, It was great. It was
So did you guys load up a trailer and head down there?
Yep. Drove, like
That's
I
fun.
said, 27 different states. I put more miles in a truck than a lot of these new truckers have, and they've got CDLs before I was 16. I drove from here to Tennessee when I was 17 in an F-350 with a 14-foot box trailer by myself. That's what we did, and it was intense for sure, but it was it's a good life lesson, man.
Did you have any no moments when you were driving that?
Not too much. It was my dad's truck, so I didn't want
Wind.
I didn't want the oh no. We didn't, honestly, we had that thing loaded so much that the wind really didn't affect us. The biggest thing I would say was my oh-no moments was driving through Kansas in the rain, where you are literally going like 45 and you're watching the markers on the road to make sure you're
in the
because
lane.
well, that's the only thing you can see.
Yeah.
Your windshield wipers could be going as fast, but you can't see anything else but the markers on the side of the road and your lights. And you're like, just follow those, follow those. Hope there's not a sharp turn.
No
And
kidding.
it's crazy. It was very interesting. But besides that, we raced in Florida for the mini Olympics. We used to go out to Vegas every year for a race there. Oklahoma. We did a lot of racing in Texas all throughout the winter. We'd go down there and race the winter nationals in Texas, and I didn't ever stop riding a motorcycle. It was a blast. I didn't get to do a whole lot of extra stuff. I wasn't much of snowboarding or anything because if I got hurt, I couldn't race, and my dad was not having that shit at all.
Mhm.
I paid all this money for you to race. You're not getting hurt doing that stupid shit. But I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah, for
Snowboarding's all right, but
Sure, those are great
I'm a
memories.
badass on a dirt bike. So,
Right.
and I still can impress people pretty well. I'm just old. I can't do very many laps anymore. My arms pump up, and I don't have any endurance when it comes to that. So,
Right.
but I can go fast for a couple laps, and then after that, I'm like, all right, I'm done. My body hurts for 4 days after that. God, it's horrible.
Let's take a little break. So, Lance, I did want to ask you, over the years, have you found, I mean, I know you've found stuff while digging. Anything that stands out? Any treasures? Anything just crazy that you've come across?
For me, I'm weird. I'm pretty sure I belong in the dirt. I've always liked rocks and stuff since I was a kid. So like I've
Yeah.
always collected rocks. So that's one thing. Like I'll be digging and I'll find a crazy rock. I find tons of petrified wood. Like my wife gets mad at me because I have petrified wood everywhere over
What?
the front of my house.
Yeah, and I've seen that too. What is that? Like, it's wood that basically has been filled in with like minerals over time, or what is petrified wood?
I don't know the exact science.
I'm gonna
I know
look it
it's wood that has been buried in the ground and I believe deprived of oxygen so long it literally pulls all the organics out of it.
Like mummifies?
Essentially, in my opinion.
Petrified wood is a fossilized form of ancient wood where the original organic material has been replaced by minerals like silica through a process called permineralization.
What are they considered as? Rock?
Well, they're rock now, but I mean, they started as wood.
Yeah. And you'll find some, like I have some that isn't fully petrified yet. It still flakes off.
It always looks really cool.
Oh dude, I have some pieces that are gorgeous. I found quite a bit over there when we were digging. It's always in these creek beds, a lot of the sandy areas where the trees will fall down, then they get buried under all the water and the sand and just sit there.
They're kind of like, they can be multicolored and there's cool, like, the wood grain patterns.
Oh yeah, I got some white ones, some good dark brown ones that you can like see the knots in the tree and everything. Like it's crazy. We've actually found, I would say, probably like a 4-foot piece one time digging, and I was super mad at myself because I saw it, and I was like, I'll just grab another bucket, and I clipped it, and it pulled half of it up, but it broke it in half, and I was like, oh man, because you
Did it
can
like
sell that.
shatter?
Some of it will. It depends on how old it is.
Sure.
Some of the older stuff is a lot more solid, and it's heavy. It is super heavy shit.
You said you can sell it?
Oh yeah, people will carve it into little like nativity scenes or things like that, and
I always
they
see
sell
it
for $600 for.
I always see
petrified wood.
like artistic pieces in like mountain town,
Right.
like gift shops.
Yep.
That are always they're always, I don't know. I'm always tempted to buy them. And then
And some
like,
of that I can't guarantee all that's
real.
actual petrified wood.
Sure.
Kind of like buying the gold from the gift shop
Yeah,
up there and
right.
a lot of that other
It's real.
the turquoise and a lot of that stuff.
I'm
It's
tempted
great
on
for
that, too.
kids.
I got it out of Goldschlager. It's real.
$10.
Good Lord. But we another job, we were in some heavy claystone and we were down there ripping, and I pulled up a piece and it had like what do you call them? Those old squid fish from the like a
Like a fossilized.
well, and it wasn't it, but you could see where the print of it was inside the claystone. I took that home. We actually had a job shut down because they found fossils up there, up north in Longmont or somewhere south of that. We
Yeah.
had a huge job. They found fossils and they shut it down for 3 months so that the museum could go in there and excavate and get it all out.
Yeah,
the GC was pissed.
that'll shut you down real quick.
Oh, for sure. And you have no control over it at that point. Like it doesn't matter what deadline or what you have.
So fossils probably, as a GC, one of the worst things to come across because
Yeah.
it shuts down the job
That
for
or a body.
a body, but also old structures that people
We've found
Get rid of?
a lot of those.
and that becomes a hazmat situation.
Yep, asbestos and all the mitigation that's got to be happening.
Lead.
And that's if someone says something about it. We've had guys that have just kayaked through it and pulled it all to the side, and then they have to shut down the job site again because they don't know where all it was tracked to, what all touched it.
Can just escalate.
Huge escalation. But most of the time it's old farmers that are farms that are getting developed that had an old outhouse or something that was down in a hole, and they're like, oh, I don't want this hole anymore. And then on top of that outhouse, you find all the trash because they just say free fill. So everyone would come bring all their crap that they didn't want and dump it in there. Then they just bury it with dirt. And that
It's
filled in the hole.
incredible how much we bury. Just as a whole.
Oh, for sure. And what's wild is how long people have been burying stuff. We found cars.
I was going to say
buried.
cars or
We've dug up
tractors
cars.
or
I think there's no, and it depends on the area you're in too. Like that job we're doing down in Castle Rock, the brickyard, the amount of stuff that we found buried in that hillside.
Anything cool?
Not really, just trash.
Bunch of junk.
Lots of trash. And it might not have been junk, but the time we dug through it, it was junk.
Yeah.
But you don't know until you start scooping down through there. And like what I said, with an excavator, you just go like this, and it could have been something awesome, but you just ripped the whole top of it off because you can't see below the ground. So, but that was one where, yeah. And I've never seen so much, like they had low spots or where the water had eroded stuff away. They would just throw like bunks of brick in there and then bury it for erosion control, and then the water wouldn't do that again. It would wash away a little bit of the dirt, but because all that brick, it was like riprap, and it prevented it from doing it again. And that's how they controlled their water down there, apparently, back in the day, which is cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I also, we got a couple guys, we call them ground pirates, when we get on big stuff like that, where we're going through or doing demo. You'll see them out there, and I've done it multiple times. If I have enough, I'll do it. But any copper, any of those old electrical lines and stuff, we'll pull that out. Old plumbing, you don't see it too much anymore. A lot of the stuff we did in Denver had old copper plumbing, and woo-wee, I'm talking like 300 foot, a 3-inch copper pipe pulled out of the ground. Some hefty money right there.
Mm-hmm.
But you get guys fighting for it on the job sites, and so someone finds it, they'd bury it and then be like, oh, we're going to go work over here for now. And then at the end of the day, they all go back and dig it all up, throw it in their cars and take it to the scrapyard.
Yeah, I've come across like old bottles and stuff down in Denver that are pretty cool.
I actually, we did Littleton High School's field. We redid all the turf and everything for it over there. And while we were doing that, we're digging into the slope to lay it back for walls, retaining walls. And I just started finding all kinds of, I found a tire. This is where I found part of a car. But I found some old milk bottles in there. I found a couple cough syrup bottles. What else did I find? I found a Mountain Dew bottle that was, I don't know when, old school Mountain Dew with the hillbilly on it, and old beer cans with the pop taps.
Yep.
Like just it's amazes me how I dig this up and it's a can. Like it wasn't damaged. It's not full of dirt. Like how did that happen? And that's another thing my wife gets, quit bringing home all this crap. But it's cool to me. Like I like it.
Yeah.
You have a museum in your garage.
I do. I have a whole shelf of all this random
This
stuff.
is Colorado.
It's the random stuff. Another thing we were finding down there is tons of sheds down there in that Castle Rock job from all the deer and stuff that go through there, which wasn't really buried. But, I mean, we've definitely found cow bones buried on jobs before. And we're like, oh, crap.
What'd you guys do with all the sheds?
They're in my garage. They're in my garage. Like I said, I got a dirt museum in there, all kinds of stuff. All the rocks are on the outside, but yeah, I like to collect the stuff I find in the ground. So it ain't worth nothing to anybody else.
Yeah.
But I just think it's a cool piece of history.
Do you have one single thing that's just elevated above everything else in that garage of things that you found?
No, not really. Nothing super special. I mean, that Mountain Dew bottle was probably one of my favorite things. I love Mountain Dew. That's like my one beverage I drink besides beer and water. So that sits up pretty high up on the shelf there, but I got rocks and little things around it. And dude, even like looking through tracking pad rock, you'll find some cool quartz and stuff in there. And I'm like, I'll grab that. That's coming home with me. But my daughters are taking after their father now, and they'll come home with rocks in their backpack. My wife's like, what are you doing? Look, Dad, look how cool it is. I'm like, nice.
That's cute.
I love it.
That
So
is cool.
got to get them started young, you know?
Yep.
If I could get them out there running equipment, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Do you ever take them out to see?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We used to actually do family pictures out at some of the sites. Like when we were working out east in Aurora, by all the fields, you could get some really cool sunset pictures with the equipment in the background. And we'd go do that. Plus there's always those sunflower fields out there and double up on those. And I mean, it's the best way to do it. Plus the girls love looking at the equipment and checking it out. And they're like, you get to drive this all day? I'm like, yeah. It's not as fun as you think, but it's nice. I mean, it's like you said, everyone envies the guy in the machine. The only reason they envy us is because I got heater and AC. So I'm kind of out of the elements for most of the time.
Right.
But I
Yeah.
tell you what, you learn how much you hate mud when you have to work in it all the time. I mean, I can't go anywhere without taking my boots off because they're just covered in mud. That little bit of rain we got, like how bad was it over here the other day when you guys got
It was
that
pretty
rain?
muddy.
Was
It was pretty muddy.
We-
Our soil dries up fast, but
Right. So where I'm at, it's got more of a clay to it. And in the morning, it was so cold that it really wasn't that muddy. But by 10 o'clock, dude, everywhere you walked, you're just sinking in it. And then it's all over. And then it's in your truck. It's in the loader. And it's just like, God, I hate mud. But I can't do my job without making mud, essentially. Like we have to make mud to get compaction. And it's a double-edged sword. But yeah, at first I was like, dude, the mud's the best. This is awesome. And now I'm like, oh, I'm so tired of this.
Yeah.
I'm more tired of cleaning up after the mud than anything is
Right.
what it is. But
Yeah, it's a mess, but yeah, little kids are funny. Cody's got 2 little boys, and I've got toddlers as well, and their eyes just light up anytime they see heavy machinery. And
Oh.
even seeing the kids like walking by our site now, you know,
Oh, yeah.
they flock to that fence. And
for sure. And I always make our guys, like, this is my big thing, is like when you see kids in your equipment, stop what you're doing, wave your bucket at them, honk the horn, and it just, the look in their face, like,
Yeah.
he did that for me. He did that for me. And they
Right.
always think of like the the Thomas the Train. Like they
Sure.
think that loader's the one actually doing it to him, not the guy inside there.
Yep.
But it to me that glow on their face is just awesome. You can't beat it.
Priceless.
So I wish more kids would get into wanting to work in trades, whether it be a loader or something like that. I wish people would get away from just trying to collect a paycheck and go out there and expand their horizon. Because, trades make some of the top money out of all these other people. Unless you're the super manager at a supermarket or something like that, dude, everyone else don't make nothing. Like, you make piddly compared to what a lot of these trades. Dude, a kid coming out of trade school, getting into trades, gonna be making $80,000 a year, 2-3 years into it, if they apply themselves and want to grow and learn what they're doing. And that's like the low end of a trade getting started, Like, it just boggles my mind how they don't want to do that. Yeah, there's some hard work. You have to work in the elements a lot of the time, but it's worth it, in my opinion.
So if you
Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you had somebody who was, I guess, on the fence, it could be a high schooler who is just having a tough time, or someone who's in college, or an older gentleman that wants to, or lady who wants to change their career. What would you tell them as to why they should become like an earth worker?
Well, for one, you got to run heavy equipment. Like I said, you're not going to start there, but you're also not going to start as a master plumber or a master electrician. You got to work your way to that. But the benefits of doing it, you get the accomplishment of starting a job, seeing nothing but an empty field, digging this hole, filling it with concrete, watching the building build up, which might not be you building it, but you're watching this thing change from an empty field into a structure. Then you go back in, you do all the grading for sidewalks, curb and gutter. You watch this whole thing come together. When you're in retail, you're selling people stuff. You don't watch anything. You look at a sales report every once in a while, but that ain't nothing. Like, I feel trades have so much more of a reward that you get to see, in my opinion, after you finish something. It's like a builder. Guys that build stuff, the reward is not necessarily the monetary value they're getting, but they do it because they enjoy to see a plain piece of wood turn into a chair or a cabinet or whatever it may be. Plumbers get to watch their plumbing work, like, it's maybe not the most rewarding, but it's still, they get to watch the same things that I get to watch as they do it. And that's huge, dude. To me, being able to see a change happen is giant.
We had a Jeff on 2 episodes ago.
We had a Jeff.
we had Jeff. Jeff.
Yes,
He's a
yep.
plumber. He. I think his uncle told him, or someone told him, like, you are literally changing the skyline of Denver, and it's easy to get caught in the mindset of, oh, I'm just grading sidewalks, or I'm just the excavator.
Right.
But no, these buildings don't happen without the first step, which is digging a hole.
100%.
And it doesn't finish without it doesn't become a usable building that's occupied by people if you're not putting in your sidewalks and
Oh, yeah.
what starts the sidewalks. It's dirt work.
We're typically the first ones in and one of the last ones out. We are there for the whole entire project, unless we're just doing like a basic over-X for like some of these residentials. We just did a huge one out in Fort Morgan. We are doing 3 giant ponds out there, retention ponds for them. But 90% of the time, we start with scrapers, moving big dirt, start digging footings and foundations, get that going. Then we start grading for slabs. There's still so much work that we do. A lot of these, since there's no place for all the rainwater now, since we're putting so much concrete on the ground as trades, all these jobs have rain gardens now. So essentially is a place for the 100-year rain to go to so that it doesn't flood the ponds that are not designed for that were built 60 years ago. It helps slow down the storm lines. There's so much stuff. We did tennis courts up by DU, and the whole entire retention pond was underground with those big half domes.
Yeah.
And we didn't do that, but watching that be done, knowing that all the water from every bit of asphalt in that area is going to go right underground there and then filter out into the different storms lines. But it just, to me, it is cool knowing that we are the one that starts it and then the one that ends it. Like I said, it's also a double-edged sword. I grew up being able to ride in a field behind my house, and now that field is gone and it's all buildings and houses.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to happen anyways.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
It's inevitable.
Whether you're doing it or not.
100%.
But yeah, the beauty of that statement is just every person that touches the job is key, down to the
100%.
laborer that's holding the stake for the laser.
Yep. Everybody, 100%. Even some of you got to have day laborers to do a lot of the things. And it's one of those, like Mike Rowe would say, a dirty job, someone's got to do it.
Right.
And someone is going to do it. But they all contribute to the end factor of that's going to be a multi-level, multi-family apartment complex with a parking garage.
Right.
And, without one trade, you really can't complete all that, because you need to be able to flush your toilet. You need to be able to turn on lights. If the dirt work isn't done, you're not going to have concrete. Everyone feeds into each other to get it done, and it's huge.
So what is that the most satisfying part of your job, is just seeing the progress and finishing a building or tennis courts or whatever you're working on?
Yeah. It's definitely, that and the paycheck after working a 60-hour week for sure is huge.
And
but
no one would work as hard as we all do without a decent paycheck at the end of the day.
Correct.
And I think everyone that we've talked to, it sounds like with time, you have to pay your dues a little bit up front, but
for sure,
over time, the money does come for the work that you're putting in.
For sure. And now I guess it's less now than it used to be, just because of the increase of minimum wage has gone up so much. But it used to, when you got into a trade out of high school, you were making more than anyone that worked at any grocery store, any fast food restaurant, because you were making $12, $13 an hour, where these guys are all making $6. You're working twice as hard. You're working longer hours. You're outside, but your paychecks are huge, and you get to see stuff being built. You're doing something. Like I said, not to take away from anyone that works in, because we don't have the people working in the grocery store. I can't go get my groceries because someone's not stocking the shelf. But to me, that's not as rewarding as watching something come together and become a building or a house or whatever it may be, That, to me, I get to see the progress, I guess.
Right. And just getting back to, talking about how repetitive running an excavator can be, or any piece of equipment. Most jobs out there have some portion that's going to be repetitive.
Oh, and I would say almost every job is, to a certain point, redundant on some sort of level, Whether you're working in billing, you're always going to be working in billing. It's just going to be different bills from different people. Same with stocking shelves or working in a back room. You're always going to be unloading trucks, warehouse work, but it's different things you get to touch. And that was one thing I did enjoy working in retail, seeing all the different stuff come in firsthand. I worked at American Furniture Warehouse for a couple years, and that itself was a fun job because I was younger. All we did was drive around on forklifts, grab furniture off the thing, and take it up to people. And you just do that all day long. Or you take the stuff from the docks coming off the trucks and put it up. But that's all you did. So I guess, all jobs are repetitive. You do the same stuff over and over. It's just the material or product that changes. So, but I get to see a lot more in construction. When you work at one area, you're only inside that store. So you might get to see a lot of different products. I get to go from Castle Rock to Boulder to Aurora, out by DIA, so I'm going and seeing all kinds of different growth that we do as construction workers and just go, dang, this has really changed. This is cool, or dang, I liked it better the old way, you know?
And not only do you get to see kind of everything the other trades are doing and kind of stand back and go, wow, that's pretty cool that these guys are, pouring decks 10 stories up or whatever.
Yeah.
But you also need to work hand in hand with all those other trades. Which trade do you think you work closest with?
For the majority of our work, I would say us and the concrete guys work together most the time, just because they come right after us. So we work hand in hand with a lot of them. It's not always the best. Sometimes there's disagreements based off of like sequencing of what they think should be done versus what we think should be done. And not that we ever want to affect what they're trying to do, but sometimes they don't have the full understanding that, hey, we still got to move all this dirt in here or move all this dirt out. So if we start putting all these columns or all this stuff now, this loader's got all these obstacles to go around.
Well, you guys got to protect your bottom line too.
Well, and 100%.
Cooperation is
key.
Number one.
And as long as everyone understands,
number two,
the
safety.
goal is to work from one area. Number one is safety. But
yeah, I corrected myself.
but as long as it just works from one area out and you're not trying to work underneath things. Like right now, I know there's a job that is, I don't know who's on it, but they're already erecting steel. They're pouring their column pads and they're erecting steel. And I know their thought process is, let's get this building built and we can pour concrete inside all winter, which is a great plan if you can get the exterior of the building up before winter. Because you've got to get those slabs in there for a lot of stuff, because these guys that are doing MEP and all this other stuff can't be on a four-wheel lift in the mud trying to hang stuff without anything, So it's one of those things where it might work. And I've seen it happen. We've worked on jobs like that and beams end up getting hit. A lot of these warehouses now are painting beams yellow inside of them before they stand them up, like bright yellow, just to assure. And since they've started doing it, they said the number of beams that have been hit are just dropped. Like no one's hitting them because they're not a black iron beam that you can't see in a dark warehouse,
So we should start painting our columns yellow?
The operators just need to slow down. Taking a shot at me, are you? Huh?
No shots.
I already painted it yellow with the ass end of my loader. Okay.
Sometimes they just jump out at you. Those columns, moving columns out in the field. Fucking holy!
Where did that come from?
When I left for lunch, that was not there.
Yeah, right.
So knowing what you know now, knowing what you know today in your career, what's one thing you wish you knew, or that you know? What am I trying to say? What's one thing that you wish you knew on the first day?
That my first day started 10 years earlier, that I got into it at an earlier age. Just because I feel like when you're at that age, you're still absorbing so much more information. I bounced around through a lot of jobs to learn a lot of stuff. I made a lot of mistakes to figure out where I wanted to be and how I needed to get there. I think if you have a passion for something, if you start it right out of high school, even if you still go to college and you're doing a summer job, work on a construction trade. Figure out, do I want to be a plumber? Be a plumbing apprentice for a year. Do electrician. Do it all and see, hey, because like I said, you start at that age. It takes you, I think, 10 years to become a master in a plumbing and electrician based off variance of hours of what you're working weekly and what the company will allow you to get. And a lot of these companies, they'll put you through school and pay for everything. So you don't have to worry about any of that. But then you get out and there's so much work right now. There's so much work that there's literally these little guys are winning so many bids on a lot of these jobs, which I'm not saying go out and take $1 million bid on your first job because you're going to lose your ass. You're going to end up bankrupt. You'll learn a valuable lesson. But it's one of those things where work yourself into it and you could be thriving and you can go fish all day while you've got people working for you. And you're 28, 30 years old at this point. And I've seen it happen. I've got a neighbor who is an HVAC, owns his own HVAC company. He does everything for residential. But he's got 300 houses up in Maynard, outside of Vale up there. They're doing a huge thing up there. $1 million houses. And they drive up there for 3 days a week, bang out what they need to, do their rough-ins, come down. They'll go back up, do their finish, and bang out another couple of rough-ins, come down. Works 3 days a week, 4 days a week. Granted, at the beginning of this, he was working 7 days a week. And he worked his ass off to get there. He went through multiple HVAC companies, and he decided, I don't want someone being my boss. I don't want a 9 to 5. I want to wake up when I wake up and I go to work, because he knows that hourly is not always the best way to make your money. Because some people, like I said, I like to be productive and get stuff done. If I can go and get everything done and still make the same amount of money, and it only took me 5 hours, I'm going to do it in 5 hours and do it right. But then it's done, and you still made that large lump sum of money. So I think that if you are serious about it, you get into it out of high school. Like I said, fill out all the trades. See what you like best. Because some people are way better suited to be a plumber. I do not have the patience for all that gluing pipe. I cannot stand the smell of that stuff. It drives me nuts. I can smell it when Jeff and them are using it out there. I'm like, how do you guys sit there in that trench like that? I'd be like, painting's another one that the smell of it drives me crazy. And it's painters and drywall finishers, to me, you have to have a hand and a talent for that. Because if you mess up paint, you see it right away. Same with the drywall.
Yeah, it's also an art.
It is very much an art, a skilled art. Dirt, we have to make stuff look good, but most of our stuff gets buried. It's under concrete. Occasionally we do these big landscaping slopes and stuff like that, but you don't ever really see it per se. It gets buried. But I get to see it until it does get buried. And if I see something wrong, it drives me nuts. There's a lot of guys in the industry say, oh, looks good for my house. Looks good for I know you've heard that on the job site.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, God, this is part of the problem with the world today, you guys. Take pride in what you're doing. Like, that's why houses fall down now so fast compared to the houses that are built in the 50s up in Denver. They're still solid, and you got these new neighborhoods that the wind comes through and blows the roof off, and you're like, what? How does that even happen? Like, it is
Going too fast.
Well, and I feel like everyone's in a rush to get to the next job because it all comes back to that money at the end. The bottom line. I got to maintain this bottom line, and this is what it is. A lot of it's greed, I think, in my opinion. People get overzealous of what they need versus what they want versus what they actually need. So they're like, oh, I got to do this. I got to have it done so I can get this. And it's like, man, just do it right. So you got a quality product so that you can do it again and have more quality products. Like, that's the goal, is we're trying to build a quality product for someone to live in. Like, this is a house. Someone's going to live here with their wife and kids.
If someone were to ask you if you were satisfied with your trajectory and how your career has gone, what would you tell them?
Yeah. This is the first job I've had where I didn't shoot straight up the ladder. When you're working retail, it's real easy for people to notice what you're doing right and wrong, because you're in a public eye. Most of your management's right there, where out in the field, you're not always seeing the owner or the manager or whoever's in charge, So your work really has to speak for itself. Dealing with a lot of GCs. I've had a roller coaster too. There's times where I got to a point where I was just so fed up with everything that was going on. I got lazy and I was like, well, look at everyone else. Why they're making the same amount of money. They show up late every day. They don't put any effort in anything. They don't want to talk to anyone. They don't want to do any of this. And I'm getting paid the same, but I'm showing up on time, doing all the work, talking to everyone, doing all the paperwork. How does that make any sense? And I got all frustrated and I'd get lazy and just show up to get my paycheck. And then that got to start eating me inside. And, when you race, like I said, I've raced, so I wanted to be the best. And it just kind of stuck with me. And now if I'm not pushing to be my best, what's the point? Like, I might as well not do it. If I'm not going to try my hardest, I'm not going to try at all. And so I just kind of, sometimes that pushes me over the limit too, because I give entirely too much sometimes. And I don't ever ask for anything. Like when I talk to my guys on the site, you don't have to work as hard as me, dude. I don't ever expect you to do that. If you want to, by all means. But I work this hard because this is something inside of me. I do expect you to do your basic task and show up on time. And if you're standing there while I'm swinging a shovel, then we might have an issue because I'm supposed to be in the loader. So you should be shoveling more than I am. But I'm not above using a shovel or a pickaxe or a sledgehammer because that's where I came from. And sometimes it's nice to get back to where you came from to remind yourself why you like it up in that loader so much, So I personally think that everyone should start there. Get a gist of what it's like to be on the bottom, because we got a lot of operators that are too snooty to even get out and shovel. That's beneath them. And it's like, dude, that's where you started. Like, I get it that you worked your way up here, but if you want that kid to want to work his way up there, you got to show him why.
Oh,
Like,
that's awesome.
give him a incentive to get there. Show him that this is what it takes to do it, And that's kind of how I always get my guys. If they're being lazy or don't work, I jump out and start working, and they immediately are like, oh, crap, take my shovel. And I'm like, no, you watch. You didn't want to work. I'll show you how to do this. And it's just something that I try to do to motivate people because yelling at people doesn't motivate them at all. Some people do need a good lashing to get an understanding of something, but to motivate someone, yelling is never going to do it. I'll tell you that right now. It's always trying to just show them what they need to do. And not everyone picks things up the same speed. So some people need to do it 2 or 3 times, which is fine. Let them make mistakes. And then let them fix those mistakes because that's the only way they're going to learn.
Right.
So I would say I'm happy with where I'm at right now. I got a house and I got a company truck. I got a family. I'm staying out of trouble. And I work a lot, but it keeps me busy. I go home, I work. I don't stop working. When I get off work, I typically go home and do more chores, whether it's mowing, picking up dog poop. I got a bunch of chickens. I got turkey. Like it just doesn't ever stop. I got a swimming pool a couple years ago. If you're thinking about getting a swim pool, get an above ground pool before you ever put any concrete in because the amount of labor that goes into a swimming pool on keeping it clean is a nightmare. It is a nightmare. And once you get it, the kids don't ever want to get out of the swimming pool. But you always got to have it clean in case they want to have a pool party. And it's like, oh, my God. But I learned a valuable lesson with that one, too. So
What's next on your to-dos and to-gets?
To-dos and to-gets. Dude, right now, I'm waiting to see what happens here around our state. I'm ready to move out of the cities. I would really love land. That's always been a goal. My daughters want horses, something fierce. I know that's a mistake I'm going to learn at some point in my life. But that's kind of my next big goal is to try and get me a piece of property somewhere. Maybe not move straight to it. I'd rather just have a piece of property, spend a couple years building something up there, maybe use it for hunting and camping during the summer or the winter, and then eventually be able to, maybe I move out and my girls rent my house from me when they're 18. I'm big on teaching them. I mean, my girls do all their own laundry. They're 8 and 11. They do the dishes. They do everything anything mess they make at the house, they have to do it. That's theirs to do. But I want to teach them how to pay stuff. There's a lot of things that I feel like I never learned from school and just general things that I didn't get taught until later in life that I feel like I want to give them a head start on that. And that's why, like I was telling you, if the kids are listening, when you're 18, get a job doing something outside. Get some labor because you will have a whole new appreciation for life once you do real physical labor. Like, I'm not saying don't go to college. I think college is a great idea for everybody because you still need to know how to use technology because the world's going to it, like we talked about at the beginning.
Yep.
So if you don't have that basic knowledge of technology, you're behind already. But if you don't have a basic knowledge of hard work, I think you're also behind because that makes you strive in any job and not be afraid to take on a task when you know, hey, I can tackle that. It's no big deal.
It's just a confidence booster if you challenge yourself
For sure.
in a physical capacity.
Well,
to
and
accomplish
you
something.
get that reward. You feel that physical reward inside when you complete those tasks. You're like, I did that. You doubt yourself at the beginning, and then when you finish, I did that. And like you said, it gives you confidence. But then you can just keep doing that. Never be scared to fail because that's how you learn. That's how you grow. If you don't try, you never know. I mean, don't try jumping off a building because we all know what's going to happen. Going to break your legs or you're not going to live. But there's certain things that you just have to try in life that teach you a lot of stuff about who you are and where you need to be, kind of things like that. And I think construction's a great place to learn all that because a lot of the tough love has kind of gone out of construction. When I did start younger with my dad, you messed up, someone yelled at you. I mean, but it's like doing little things with woodwork. You hit your thumb with a hammer, you only do it a couple times. And I mean, I do it quite a bit, but I don't swing a hammer every day. If you're doing it every day, you only do it a couple times. Then you go, all right, I'm going to figure out a better way to do this. Or you start paying attention to the nail more.
Mm-hmm.
But it teaches you so much about control and everything. It's great. I think we need more kids coming into construction, really.
Yeah. For sure. We only have a couple minutes here left. Is there anything that you would just like to say in general to the Ruction Nation? Any thoughts? Any final words?
Keep working hard. When someone yells at you, don't take it personal. Shit happens every day. You're not always going to have a good day. We all have bad days on the job site. And there's sometimes you have bad weeks on a job site where you feel like nothing can go right. Go home, forget about it. It's all going to be there tomorrow. And you just move on. That's something that's taken me a long time because I would take a lot of that home and dwell on it personally. And I'm starting to get better at it that what happened today is today. Tomorrow's a new day. We're going to start all over. But if you go in with that grudge from the day before, you're not going to have a good day. It's going to just keep carrying with you. You got to forget about it, leave it in the past, and move on. All trades, everybody, shit happens, man. So forget about it and not forget about it, but don't dwell on it. Just use it as a lesson that sucked. I don't want to do that again and move forward. So that's really what I got, man. And work hard. Work hard. We don't got forever. But if you work hard now, you don't have to work hard later. It makes things easier for sure. I'll tell you that much. It shows. There's proof in the pudding. There is proof in the
great
pudding.
stuff. Great stuff. That's awesome.
Well, thank you, Gun, for
Yeah.
having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Hope we can get you on again sometime.
Definitely. I enjoyed it.
Really, really, really
So,
appreciate it.
yeah, thank you.
Yep.